Hi everyone, my name is Phyllis and I'm the owner of Moody Quilting Fabrics. Today we're continuing with our Crazy Christmas Tree Tablerunner, and I'm going to show it to you right now so you can see what we've been working on. So this is what we're working on, and we are at the second part of assembling the tree block. So let me put myself overhead camera, and I'm going to put myself up in the corner so you can see me. All right. So last week we had assembled our pieces, and then we cut them, we subcut them, and now you have to put, and we labeled them. What we did was we labeled them as A4, A3, A2, A1. The other one stack was labeled as B4, B3, B2, B1. Now we're going to put them into an order. So you're going to start with A4 at the bottom, then it's going to be B4 next, A3, B3, A2, B2, A1, B1. Now, there is one thing you have to do. Let me just get my cutting board, and I'm going to show you that right here. They tell you to trim this A1 down. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what I did. Is I decided that I was going to trim just past, by a 1/4 inch past that point. Okay, that's what I decided that I was going to do. So I'm just going to line that up. I'm going to get a ruler, and I'm just going to go approximately a 1/4. It's a little more than a 1/4. A little more than a 1/4. But I'm taking an inch off the top. And that's all you do. And you do that with each of A1s. Okay, I'm going to just throw that over there. I'll put my ruler away. So you would do it to each one. The other thing I did was I left the A4 and B4 in the same order as I had stacked them originally when I did my cross cutting, okay, my sub cutting. I took the first one of A3 and I put it down on the bottom that you can see. Okay, I put it at the bottom. Okay, this one is over there. So I put it at the bottom. And I did the same thing. I took the top and put it at the bottom, just the first top for B3. A2 and B2, I took the two top ones and put them underneath. In the same order, I just picked up the two and just slid them underneath for these two. For A1 and B1, I picked up the top 3 in the same order as I stacked them, and then I slid them underneath. So this one would be like the 4th one in the pile, and I did the same for B1. And this way, I make sure that each one of these pieces is one of the 8 fabrics. There's no fabric of the tree being duplicated. All right. So now that, and then you would sew A4 to B4, B4 to A3, A3 to B3, and so forth, making sure that you've trimmed this one down. Okay, and then this one would be sewn on, and it will look like this. Okay, let me just get these out of the way because I want to show you this. All right, let me just get this out of the way. And it would look like this. After it's sewn, this is what it's going to look like. So now we have to actually trim this down. And this sewed up really nice. Like, I'm going to lose something over here, but this sewed up quite close together. Usually I have like, but for some reason, this one is just sewn up nice. Let me switch to a bigger mat. No, sorry, this one has already been trimmed down. Sorry, that one's been trimmed down. It looks like this. Okay, that explains it, okay? I'm looking at this and I'm going, wow, this one's already been trimmed down to size. This one is what it would look like once it's all sewn together, okay? So now we have to trim this down, okay, to look like this one. So I'm going to pull this up. And I actually am going to do my length first. I've done it both ways, and I feel like it's easier to trim down the length. I'm going to trim this here down to a 1/4 inch from that point, okay? Because I don't want to lose the top of the tree, but I don't want, so I'm going to trim it down to a 1/4 inch. And actually, I'm just going to line that edge up. And I'm going to trim it down to a 1/4 inch. Off the point. Okay, so I have my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So when I sew, it should, when I put the binding on, actually, I don't think there's no sashing at the top. It's only through the centers. There's no border. So I'm going to put my binding on and it's going to be right there on that point. Okay, so now I'm going to trim this down to the size that I want for length. And I'm going to double check to make sure that I'm not cutting off more than I need. Yeah. Okay. And then you're just going to follow the instructions and trim down. Okay. They don't tell you to trim to a 1/4 inch here, but I do. Okay. Now I have my top and bottom. I have my length the way I want it. And now I'm going to trim off yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. There we go. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then trim this off. And now your tree is ready to have the trunk put on the base and your sashings in between. So next week we will, let me just switch back to the above, and so next week we're going to show you how to do the trunk pieces and sashing pieces with all those little wedges and end pieces that we had cut on the first video several weeks ago. So we'll see you next week. Happy sewing. Bye-bye.